Let's talk about metaphor. The Bible uses a cascade of metaphors to help us figure out who God is and what God is like and what our relationship with God is meant to look like. Part of this is because so much of the Bible is poetry. I know sometimes we'd rather the Bible were just more direct, but like any good poem, it's trying to describe the indescribable. I mean, just try and give a basic just the facts account of a spectacular sunset with just straightforward words. Can you convey the gloriousness of it to another person so that they can see it in their mind too? No. Try and give a just the facts account of the love that two people share. Explain in depth what rapturous love looks like and feels like. Can you do justice to love with a few paragraphs? No. This is why we have art and poetry and music and dance, so that we can convey some sense of meaning of some of these things to others. Words can't do alone. So sometimes a picture needs to be worth 1,000 words. God isn't just X or Y. God is kind of like a shepherd who has a flock of sheep. God is kind of like a rock who is stable and long-lasting. A mighty fortress is our God because we can depend on him when we're being assaulted from every side. God is sort of like our father and our friend and our spouse. God is a king, a good king, a mighty king. And yes, God is like a master who has slaves. Now, you can't absolutize any one metaphor. That's part of the deal with metaphors. They aren't true in every sense. Shepherds who live alongside their flocks tend to smell like the sheep that they are watching over. Shepherds smell like sheep. We know this. So if God is a shepherd, then God must smell like sheep. Yes? No. Kings are rulers who pass down their reign to their firstborn son. So if God is a king, then God must have had a father who was king? Yes? No. God is our rock. Well, what kind of rock? Quartz, marble, mica schist, granite? Can we point to a single rock and say that there is God? Yes? No, of course not. We can mine metaphors for meaning, but as we dig down, we will eventually hit the limit of the metaphor. So if God is like a master who has slaves, there are going to be parts of this metaphor that are intended and which will be rich with meaning. But there will also be limits. At some point, the metaphor's limit will be reached. And because it's not the only metaphor for God, but rather it's one out of an entire kaleidoscope of metaphors, we're meant to take this one and place it alongside of shepherd and light and king and mother hen and gate and lion and bread of life. And out of the totality of these metaphors, we might get a little fleeting glimpse of the fullness of the glory of God.